Carly Gregg was only 14 years old at the time of her heinous crime, and there is footage from the trial that is absolutely bone-chilling, and we're going to talk about it in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. The sofa's back there. I'm right here. My name's Paul if you're new to the channel. And if you're not new to the channel, well, my name's Paul if you forgot, okay? I get it. Now look, if you are familiar with the channel, you'll know we have our two new little mascots, Bo William and Luke Connor. They are absent today, so Roscoe and Spirit is going to watch over us. They are actually being babysat right now. So that's it. They're doing wonderful. You can see updates on them mostly on like Instagram and Patreon, stuff like that. But they'll be here maybe next video or whatever. So what I want to focus on with this video today are some dynamics and aspects and evidence in the trial, and specifically body cam footage, some of the surveillance footage, whatever you want to call it, like the cam footage at her house. It was bone chilling. It was heartbreaking, the depravity of it, okay? So how we'll do this is this. We're going to go very quickly over just like what this case is about, what the trial is about, who Carly is, who the victims are, most importantly, right? And then we're going to get into that footage. So before we get to the footage, let's talk about what this case was, what happened with it, and how we arrived at this video. Carly Gregg was only 14 years old when she took the life of her mother, Ashley Smiley. Now, after this took place, Carly would then reach out to her stepfather to see when he was coming home, and she would lay and wait, waiting for him to come home. His name is Heath. Now Heath would walk into the door to a barrage of a gunshot, okay? There would be a struggle. He would survive, although he would sustain injuries. So Carly is obviously a complicated person, right? She was 14 years old. Now, she had her whole life ahead of her, obviously. I mean, 14, do the math on that, okay? She would turn down a plea deal. I believe it was like 40 or 45 year plea deal. Essentially, she could have gone home eventually, okay? However, she turned that down. We'll get to her sentence before we get to the footage, but yeah, she ain't leaving prison anytime soon, okay? The state would say that secrets were at the heart of this murder. Now, like I said, Carly was kind of a complicated person. She was a teenager. She had a lot of stuff going on. One thing to keep in mind is that Carly went to high school. Obviously, her mother worked at the same high school Ashley did, the victim. So there's that going on there. Now, a friend of Carly's was worried about her. This person, you know, saw her what could be considered out of control behavior. Carly was doing drugs. She was experimenting with harder drugs, this type stuff. She had some issues going on, and this friend was worried about her. They were concerned. So they go to Carly's mom and essentially tell on her and divulge this information to the mother. So that day when Ashley and Carly rode home, you can only imagine that it was a very long ride home, okay? So they get home. We're gonna watch the footage in a minute, but I'll describe it a little bit. So they get home. The mother goes to Carly's room. She's basically looking for this stuff, right? Carly goes outside. She takes the dog. She walks them. She comes back in. She sees the mother in her room. Carly will then go to her mother's room, get a .357, go back there. She will unload the gun. Well, not unload it. She'll take several shots at her mother, mortally wound her, kill her. The mother will yell out. She'll ask for her help. It's very heartbreaking, okay? Then this is when we'll see Carly go back to the kitchen. She will get the phone, start texting. I believe she is trying to see when her stepfather is coming home. She will also be contacting friends and whatnot. She's reaching out to people, almost like looking for help or something. And then one of the friends will actually come over to the house. And this is when those creepy words, you know, Carly will be like, "Are you squeamish? Do you want to see a dead body?" And she'll show the person that. Now, all the time that this is going on, the stepfather is on his way home, right? Now, Carly will make the person go wait outside. The stepfather will come in, and like I said earlier, he's opening the door and there's a gunshot, right? And he will say on the stand, he'll be like, you know, at first, I was sitting here thinking there must have been an intruder and she thinks I'm that person. And so, you know, they take the shot, or she takes the shot. We'll get into it when we watch some of the footage later and whatnot, my thoughts on that, because there's some very just heartbreaking human moments that we're going to see here, okay? But nonetheless, of course, he's not thinking my stepdaughter's trying to kill me, but all of a sudden they're in that situation. There's going to be a struggle, and he will sustain some injuries, but obviously he will live. He'll contact 911 and they will come to the scene. Now Carly, she's going to run, the friend's going to run, there's going to be all this drama, right? Carly will be picked up on the road. I forget how far away, maybe a mile, quarter of a mile, something like that. We're going to see the footage of the arrest, of them gun swabbing her hands, her behavior and whatnot, okay? Now Carly will claim, and her defense will claim, that this was like a mental snap, a mental break, you know, that she had this condition, that condition, she was in therapy, she was on this medication, so on and so forth. However, the internet is very divided about this, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Even her stepfather, one of her victims, he would take the stand, okay? And we're going to see footage towards the end where even during sentencing, he's mouthing the words, you know, "we love you," to her. You know, you'll see her family sitting very close to her, but her stepfather would say several things. He would say his late wife, Ashley, Carly's mother, that she loved Carly. It sounded like Carly and her mother had a very close, complicated relationship, right? He said that before that day, he and Carly had a good relationship. He thought things were good. He said there were issues with Carly's father. He said that Carly was doing, you know, some self-harm, that they had her in therapy. She was on Zoloft. She had to go to a special school after bringing a knife to school, like an alternative school at one point. But she also would go on to make achievements in high school. She was diagnosed with major depressive disorder. She did have a sister that died. So there was several things going on here, which is why I mentioned those, because again, with the defense and whatnot, essentially trying to say this is a mental health situation, you know, and obviously the jury didn't think so, okay? Now, he would even say on the stand, the stepfather, when asked about that day, you know, walking in, and again, like I said before, he talks about, I thought there's an intruder and whatnot. And when the prosecutor or the state attorney, whoever, was asking him, hey, was she the one who pulled the trigger? And he's like, the first one, yes, but he's like, you know what, honestly, there's a struggle, and I could have actually made the other shots go off in that struggle, you know, that he had with her. So I thought that was interesting that he said that even. Okay, so that's the basics of it, okay? That brings us to the clips that I want to review for the case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these up here, and then we'll make commentary on them, we'll talk about them, and then obviously meet back up in the comment section to talk about it later. Now, the first clips that we're going to watch before we get to like her sentencing and verdict and that type stuff is going to be that chilling footage of her coming home, the crime taking place. So this is a trigger warning. Now, you're not going to see anything, but this is one of those cases of it doesn't matter that you don't see anything. It's what you hear and what you know is going on that is absolutely heartbreaking and absolutely bone chilling. So let's put that first clip up. Okay, so, whoa, couple of things about that. First of all, what you're seeing is, you know, she comes home. Now you saw, she comes in, she brings the dogs back in, she goes, it looks like what she does is she sees that her mom's in her room. She turns around. Now you notice when she turns around, she has way more of like she looks pissed. She goes and gets that 357. Obviously you hear what happens, right? She comes back, you hear the fire shots. Here's what gets me about that. You hear the mother scream. There's several things going on there, right? The dogs come out. Okay, it gives me goosebumps. You obviously know I'm a dog person, right? Now I'm not trying to negate the human victim in this part, but it's everything going on, because when I look at that, okay, it gives me goosebumps. I'm like watching a family, a household, a home destroyed. Everything that was going on in the few minutes before that, think about the mother. She cares about her daughter. Let's go, like, what's going on? You're doing drugs, you're doing this. But think about the little things, the grocery list. Maybe they had stuff to bring in, homework to be done, maybe starting dinner for the stepfather and everybody in the, you know, whatever. None of that matters anymore. It's all over with. Everything is done, obviously for Ashley, right? But for Carly, for the stepfather, that whole house, that whole life, everything about it was immediately destroyed in that moment. And the dogs are walking, you can tell that they're upset. They know something's not right. And then the mother screaming out, and then the way she comes out, and I'm talking about Carly, runs out, puts gun behind her. Now, this is a major thing I saw in the comment sections, and I'm curious to see what you think in this comment section. Gun behind her back, hiding it. When she walked in, she looked, kind of peeked her head around the thing to see if her mom, I'm assuming, was in the kitchen. Gun behind her back, sits down, immediately starts texting. Now, it's my understanding that she was using the mother's phone to text the stepfather to be like, when are you coming home? Or something like that. But remember, there's also her contacting these friends and trying to get people over and so on and so forth. So, yeah, let's go on to the next clip. Now, you know, she's going around the house, and when this friend comes over, you know, she'll make the friend go, wait outside. Now, remember, the friend comes over, she's like, are you squeamish? You want to see a body? The whole 9 yards. It reminds me of Stephen King, The Stand. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But you see her going around, I mean, very methodical, right? Like, boom, 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 here's what we're doing. Bup, 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 bup. The human part of me wants to try and put reason to what she thought she was going to accomplish from this. I 100% get that when you're a teenager, you've got so many emotions going. You've got this going on, that going on. That's just a gross time in life, right? I mean, that age, it's complicated. I get that. However, right, depending on which avenue you go on this, if you were of the camp of, she had a mental breakdown, she claims that she blacked out, and next thing she knows, she's getting arrested on the side of the road, right? Or if you're of the camp of, this is pure evil that we are watching take place, or somewhere in the middle, right? I don't know. Because I guess when you look at this and it's like, no matter how angry you might be with your parent, you're destroying your own life by destroying your parent, okay? Because she tried to take the stepfather out too. So it's like, well, what were you hoping to gain? But again, at that age, I don't think that they're even thinking beyond that, other than, mom's going through my room to get my stuff. I want to do what I want to do. Let me get rid of her. Or again, if you're of the camp of, no, she had a mental breakdown, well, then that's a whole other thing, right? Now, let's move on to some more heartbreaking footage, to be honest. And this is when the stepfather is getting home. It's a very quick clip, but let's watch it. Okay, now you saw that he's getting out of the truck. And again, when I watch stuff like this, he has no idea that his life has been destroyed, right? Now, I know he survived. I get that. But I'm talking about his wife, Ashley. She's dead. Nothing will ever be the same after this, right? Nothing will be the same. And obviously, we know now he's getting ready to walk into a gun in his face, okay? So there's that whole thing. Now, let's listen to some of those 911 phone calls that he made. We're kind of going through a timeline of the events through video, but what we're going to do is we're going to watch it in the courtroom, and we're going to watch Carly as she's listening to this, and then we'll talk about it. Now, again, this is trigger warning. Trigger warning. If this kind of stuff bothers you, you're just going to be hearing somebody in a very, very bad moment in life, okay? So just know that before we go forward.
What's your name? Okay, calm Charlie? Yes, sir. All right, mister, what's your phone number you calling me from? Did she hit you? Yeah, I got hit in the neck a little bit. Okay, so she grazed your neck? Yes, sir. All right. And what's her name? Carly Gregg. Carly Gregg? Does she still have a gun on her? I took it from her. She ran. You took it from her and she ran? Yes, sir. She was screaming something at me I couldn't understand. I locked the door. She's outside. I don't know what's going on. Which way did she run off to? She ran into the backyard and went over a fence. Ran into the backyard and went over your fence? Yeah. What is she wearing? T-shirt, gray shirt and some jeans. Gray shirt and jeans? About how tall is she?
Now that's just a little sample of that. Again, you see her crying. Now, was I in the courtroom? No. Do I know any of these people personally? No. So I have no, parameter, whatever you want to call it, to judge if this is legitimate, if they're crocodile tears, that type of thing, right? However, and I'm not talking about from him, I'm talking about from Carly, you can hear the devastation, the fear, the confusion in his voice, because again, one of the things where he talks about where he's like, I thought that there was like maybe an intruder, and I was like, God, I never thought about that. But if you are somebody who you're faced with that in your moment, right, of your loved one, your child, whoever is doing this to you, out of the blue, unprovoked, no, like what? That's how the human mind, I think, would work. Like, oh my God, they must be confused. They must be, I'm the intruder. But then why are they continuing to do this? That absolute devastation and confusion. And then again, his wife is inside dead. Okay, I mean, I cannot imagine. Now, her sitting there crying there now, almost like this is the first I've heard of this, or, this kind of cold reaction to it. And again, I'm not there at the table. I don't know if this is authentic or not. If she truly had a mental lapse, a mental snap, a mental break or whatever, and something triggered her and she went into some episode and attempted to wipe the family out and then came to getting arrested on the side of the road, well, what a travesty that is, right? Do I believe that that's what happened? Well, let's get to that at the end before we get too far ahead of ourselves here. But first, before we even really make that judgment, let's look at that arrest footage. Now remember, she jumps over the fence. You can see a little clip of that on one of the things, but I didn't put it in this video. But she jumps over the fence, she starts running, right? So remember, like, a friend goes this way, the dad's doing all this, the stepfather, I'm sorry, and then she runs off and cops very quickly catch her. So that's what we're going to be seeing here.
I got her handcuffed. All right, sweetie. Look. Let me step out real quick for me. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them around to the front of you, okay? I'm going to move the handcuffs around to the front of you. Okay. Alright. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to swab your hands, okay?
Yeah.
Right. Now, I'll ask you a bunch of questions, but obviously you fired with a pistol, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Alright, look. I need you to hold your hand out like this. I'm going to do your right hand first, okay? Just your right hand. Just like that.
Swab up here.
What is this?
It's a GSLR. It shows which hand did you shoot with?
Okay.
Which hand did you shoot with? Flop the hand, turn the hand over.
Turn it over.
Rub on the outside part around the knuckles.
What do you want? What do you want kids from? I guess you can put it in my vehicle, but my key fob is in my left pocket.
All right, so go ahead and take it. All right.
Is my stepdad okay?
I don't know, baby. I can't talk to you.
Okay, couple of things with that clip. First of all, before I forget, when they ask her about shooting the gun, and she's like, yeah, he used a pistol or whatever they said. Yep, so she's aware of that, right? These are the little things that I look for. Obviously, right, wrong, indifferent, whatever, okay? There is going to be adrenaline, okay? So 100% get that, because when she comes out of that car, this, you know, this looking around, what's going on, you know, that kind of, not confusion, but confusion. I don't know how to describe it. Like, she looks bewildered, I guess is the way to say it. Who wouldn't be though, right? So then when they're starting doing this stuff, you know, well, what hand did you use? I can't remember, honestly. To me, there's an awareness in this moment that of what she did. So to say, oh, I just kind of came to, I don't know what I did, you know. Now, also the concern that she has for the stepdad is interesting, you know, because obviously I get it. That's her mother. So there's going to be a little bit more of a different relationship in that scenario than even a bio dad, which there was issues with the bio dad in this scenario, but regardless, versus a stepfather, right? And especially when you get into the different dynamics of how, I don't even know what you call it, but like the psychology of how a mother-son gets along versus how a mother-daughter, and vice versa with a father-daughter, father-son, that type, you know, family dynamics. So what I'm getting at is, I of course expect there to be a more complicated, deeper, layered relationship between Carly and her mother, Ashley, versus Carly and the stepfather, okay? But I think it's interesting that she shows concern for him and not the mother. I find that very interesting. Now, also at the very end when the cop came up and she was asking like if the stepdad was okay, and he was like, I don't know, baby, I can't talk to you about that. Seeing this girl, okay, because remember, she's 14 on the day we're watching her. Even when she's 15 later, it doesn't matter. She still looks like a little tiny kid, okay? And she is a little kid, right? Seeing someone with her little Nirvana shirt, you know, handcuffs, doing gunshot residue, and I'm like, you just killed your mother? I can't wrap my mind around it, okay? Even when we see her in court, she still looks like a little thing. So hearing the cop talk to her like a little kid, because it's like that's what she is, it's absolutely mind-boggling that this occurred. Okay, now you can imagine how this went over with the jury, okay? You can just do the math on this. So let's get to that, and let's look at some of the footage from the verdict, the sentencing, all that.
All right, the verdicts appear to be in proper form. Verdict of the jury is count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of attempted murder as charged in the indictment. Count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of tampering with evidence as charged in the indictment. Please be seated, Ms. Gregg. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury is custom for the court to poll the jury.
Okay, so she still has that look on her face throughout the trial, all of it, of just this like, huh? What's going on? Now, I'm sitting here thinking she's been in, you know, whatever it's called, juvenile, like wherever they put young offenders or whatever. Mind you, she'll probably, whatever the laws are or whatever in her state or whatever, she'll probably be in that scenario till she's of age to go to an adult prison, I would think, okay? But regardless, it's like you're watching a little kid up there who did a very adult thing. Now, remember in the beginning, I said she was given that plea deal. She turned it down. She went here, I guess thinking like, I can try and get out of this over insanity, whatever she was hoping. It didn't work, okay? So let's go into that next clip.
That verdict is proper and unanimous. As to count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of attempted murder as charged in the indictment. Beginning on the first row. Ma'am, is that your verdict?
Yes,
sir. Sir, is that your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Ma'am, is that your verdict?
Yes.
On the back row, sir, is that your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict?
Complete side note. So the judge is pulling the jury or whatever. He sounds like one of the auctioneers. You know what I'm saying? He's so quick and fast at it. Now, you saw Carly crying, whatnot. Now, here's the thing. You saw the stepfather, number one, in a couple of clips where he's like, you can just feel the emotion. What I'm getting from him is this almost this thought of, my whole life, it gives me goosebumps, my whole life and family are destroyed in this moment. Absolutely destroyed, right? Her family, you see them, are sitting there, right? He's there, other supportive grandparents, like they're right there. And I can't, obviously you're at home right now. I'm sitting here literally watching it. It's like they are just a few feet away from her. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot imagine. That would feel like the weight of the world. I don't care if they were supporting you or not. That would be so awkward, okay? Like, how do you even look at them, right? Okay, so let's go to the next clip now.
Beginning on the first row, ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? On the back row, sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict?
100%, I do think that the judge literally does that in his spare time because he was even doing it like that, right? But that's not why we're here. Carly now needs tissues or whatever. And I regardless of whatever, I'm sitting here thinking, don't cry now, girl. Yeah, honestly, this is my first thought. I'm just like, now's not the time to be crying. You got to put your big girl pants on now, right? You did some very big adult things and you're getting ready to pay the piper for the rest of her life, okay? It is what it is. Now, what I want to do for this next clip is I want to watch it, and then I kind of just want to, like, it's going to be silent, but we're just going to watch it and then talk through it or whatever, okay? So, here we go. Okay, so you see her stepfather, right? Now, it's zooming in on it. Now, watch his face. Watch his face. Here he goes. See the love you, I think he says we love you or I love you, I can't tell. Now, see her looking? This is what I was talking about before. Here comes the attorneys to her, crying, that look. And again, I can't tell if she's really crying or not. And see that she says it's okay, and Carly's like, no, it's not. I mean, what do you do? It's like, I feel like she just said, I didn't mean it or something like that. Again, it's almost like now you're seeing the little kid logic come through, right? It's not okay, I didn't mean it. I don't think anyone at her age, mental health, right, take whatever, any 14, 15-year-old has no concept of forever. You know what I mean? Like, most of them don't, right? Like, when it's like prisons for, like, this is forever. Whatever situation you're in is the rest of your days, right? It might change some. You're going to grow up. You're going to do this. Imagine the train of thought in 20, 30 years. You're still doing the same thing over and over. Everyone's life is going on. The situation with her bio dad doesn't sound great. She took the one person out that's like blood. You know what I'm saying? Now, she probably has other family members and whatnot. And sure, the stepdad's being supportive. I mean, but come on, okay? Let's watch one more clip and then let's talk about it.
Your sentences will be as follows. As to count one, the jury having fixed the verdict at life imprisonment, this court will sentence you to life imprisonment. As to count two, you'll be sentenced to life imprisonment. As to count three, you'll be sentenced to 10 years to serve. You'll be required to pay court cost fees and assessments in the amount of $431.50. Ms. Gregg, regarding any appeal of your judgment of conviction and order of sentence and in accordance with Wright v. State 577, Southern 2nd 387, the court wants to inform you that pursuant to Rule 4E of the Mississippi Rules of Appellate Procedure, the notice of appeal required by Rule 3 of such rules shall be filed with the circuit clerk within 30 days after the date of the denial of any motion for a new trial.
Okay, so notice how she was different in that one, okay? Where she was like, you know, she shook her head, number one, but she seemed real, almost like, okay, here we go. Now, you saw when the judge started talking all those big words, and she looked at her lawyer like, huh? Yeah, which I would be too, right? Okay, I'd be like, huh, what is he talking about? You know, but it's like, okay, well, this is just standard protocol, right? I mean, we watch this on these all the time. So let's get into it here. So first of all, the biggest question here, you know, do I think she knew what she was doing? Okay, so again, was I there? No. Am I a doctor, a lawyer, a therapist, a cop, any of that fancy credential stuff? Absolutely not. Only credentials here are the sofa, some sass, and some, well, personality disorders on my part, but that's a whole nother story. But for real, do I think she knew what she was doing? Yes, I do. I feel like if she was truly having a lapse, and I'm talking about a lapse, like there's a spectrum of mental health that we're talking about here, okay? There is the, I blacked out. I wiped my family out and came to hours later getting arrested, versus I'm in a mental health crisis. I'm very desperate and doing very desperate things, and I could cause harm to myself and others, okay? There's a spectrum there. The fact that, and this, I'm going to tell you why I think that I believe that she knew what she was doing. First of all, there's a whole thing going on there of the trigger of the friend tells the mom, they come home, who knows what the car ride was like. The mom goes to the room, she's ransacking, she's finding her vapes and all this stuff. Carly sees it, she goes and gets the gun. She sneaks it past the video, it's behind her back, goes in there, mom's asking for help, she's singing, I mean, just like absolutely carefree. Hides the gun, puts it away, texting the stepdad, you know, when are you gonna come up? Tries to take him out. Then has the friends come over. Are you squeamish? You wanna see a dead body? All the stuff, right? Then he comes home, does that, she bolts. You heard the cops say, you know, you shot with a pistol, right? Yep. Which hand? Oh, I don't remember. You know, or what's this for? I do not think that she just blacked out or anything like that and came to, okay? Now, here's the other dynamic to it. Do I know what was going on in the household, you know, in any of her households? Bio dad, stepdad, mom, any of that? No, I wasn't there. I didn't grow up with her. I didn't know this family. My heart breaks for them. I think that they are absolutely devastated, but I don't know what kind of traumas might have led up to this. I have a hard time wrapping my mind around this, and I just need to get over it. And you would think that years of watching true crime, I would have like gotten over this, right? What I'm about to say. I, for the life of me, cannot imagine why somebody would just literally come home and be like, oh my God, my mother's doing this, and I go get a gun and wipe them out. There has to be a deeper thing to it for me, right? I'm like, there has to be something leading up to this. There had to have been something else going on. Maybe there was something mental, whatever, okay? But then there's also the other side of that where sometimes there's just pure evil, okay? And we could very well be looking at this. It could be a little bit of column A, B, C all put together, right? I don't know. Another thought that I have, you know, do I feel life without parole is justifiable? Okay, this gets very tricky because there is a part of me when I look at this that I'm like, this is a kid, right? You know, oh my God, like this is a kid. But then I think of what she did and her callousness towards her own mother, and I'm like, kid or not, this was evil, okay? Now, oftentimes we see with these young offenders like this that get charged as adults that later in life, whatever it is, they can get some kind of relief or whatever, who knows, right? This one in particular might be a little bit tricky. Of course, it depends on the state and the whole 9 yards, right? But I mean, there's a lot of these cases where once they've done a lot of time or new laws are passed where it's like, well, look, if you were sentenced, you know, as this, we have to give you parole or we have to give you the option. What will happen with this case is time will tell. We briefly talked about this in one of the live chats we were doing. You know, I was like, look, here's what's going to happen. She's sentenced to 2 life sentences. She ain't walking out of prison anytime soon, I can tell you that. Even if she took the plea deal, it was going to be, I think people said 29 years minimum. A lifetime for her is going to be spent in prison, right? Now, she could have gone home eventually and had a secondary part of her life that she took away that option for her mother, right? And tainted the rest of many people's lives for there on out. And for that, she must pay, okay? I get that. But like I said, time will tell with her. If she grows up into some kind of like very productive person and really works her case and works herself and does all this stuff, yeah, she might find relief in several decades and them say, you know what, you were sentenced as a youth, we're going to give you parole, whatever, right? Now, I'm not saying I think she should get that or whatever. I'm just saying, like, what could possibly happen. Or she's going to be right at home incarcerated, and it's going to show. One of the examples that I used when we were talking about in the live chat, and I can't think of her name right now, but her name's Brenda, the I Hate Mondays killer. It was in the 70s. She lived across the school. She took a gun, started picking off kids in the morning. When they did the standoff, they called her, where you can see her throughout the years, and it's like, whoa. Okay, she doesn't ever need to walk out of jail, right, or prison, you can tell there's something deeply disturbed about this person. She's like, oh, I'm better now, I've done that. There's no, absolutely no, right? That's how I think this case with Carly will go. She'll either deteriorate deeper, or she'll be like this, you know, whatever. She'll just turn herself around or whatever, and then possibly get relief again decades down the line, if it could even happen. I don't know. Anyways, I am very curious to see what you think. Do you think she knew what she was doing? Do you think it was a mental health lapse? Do you think she really blacked out? Do you think that the sentence was appropriate? All of the things, because this is so particular because of the age of the person, but also the heinousness of the crime. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you are still watching, well, I do appreciate it. And if you could, drop some sofas off down in the comment section for myself, Roscoe and Spirit, and then Bo William and Luke Connor, who are not here but will be very soon. And until we all meander our way, our little troop down to the comment section to hang out on the sofa and talk to you all, we'll see you soon. I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now, don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. Also, if you're looking for merch, be sure to check out my Teespring store. I'll put that up here. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Roscoe on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.